Hello, and welcome back to Build Your Empire Through Real Estate. I'm your host, Alexis Lekas, and I have a friend and special guest here, Mark Sandvig, today. Welcome.
Hey everybody. Hey Alexis, how are you?
I'm doing well. Why don't you tell everybody listening where you're located from?
I am zooming in today, or whatever we call it, from Akron, Ohio. So you got Cleveland, Akron, Canton, kind of the Northeast Ohio um, belt there. And I am a team leader of a market center for Keller Williams in this area.
I love it. Fun fact, Mark, I don't know if you know this. I'm closing on a duplex in Cleveland in 5 days.
Hey, congratulations. I'm assuming as an investor, not because you're relocating to this area.
Yes, as an investor, though it is a beautiful area. It was such a cute pocket of Cleveland, so I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah, not to make this a Cleveland real estate commercial, but I mean, if you're an investor, the numbers work in Northeast Ohio, unlike lots of other parts of our country right now.
Yeah.
And so lots of eyes are drawn. And you look at the Realtor.com top 10 places to look for real estate. Northeast Ohio tends to get a lot of attention simply because you can find quality places affordably. Not so in California.
No, California, Boise, none of the above. No,
Yeah.
absolutely not anymore, at least. But thanks to those news syndications, Boise and California are no longer on that list. So
Yeah.
hopefully I'm getting in there before, but it was a great deal and it pencils out if you're still looking for financing. Those that are listening, because we're here to help you build your empire through real estate, and that is part of what we do. So it's a
Love
great
it.
area for investors. I totally agree. Awesome. All
Love
right,
it.
well, we're going to dive in today. Let me go ahead and properly introduce you before we dive into any more of the goodies here. For those that are listening, Mark Sandvig loves real estate, first drawn to the industry through the world of real estate investing. He took the leap in 2020 to get his license and was on a KW team. Shortly thereafter, he transitioned into becoming a team leader. He positioned at Keller Williams Legacy Group Realty, where he led the team to grow the market from 168 agents to 309. Wow. And number 21 in owner profit in all of Keller Williams International. His greatest passion and work is in helping others to realize their potential and to find joy in the midst of their growth journey. He is married to Claire, and together they have 4 beautiful children. And when not working, he can be found at his kids' events, serving at church, sweating in a sauna, or watching Ohio State football.
You got it. That captures it pretty well.
I love it. Mark, welcome.
Thank
Super
you.
excited to
Thank
have
you.
you on.
Appreciate it.
So tell me, I'm curious, as some I'm sure are listening, what really was, I always make a joke, what possessed you? No. Why transition from real estate sales into becoming a team leader and having as much success as you have? I'm sure those that are either considering the same or just recently made that transition are kind of wondering your journey.
Yeah, so I love that this podcast is titled "Building Your Empire Through Real Estate" because my attraction to this industry in the first place was not like, hey, I just want to sell a bunch of houses. It was like, man, like I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I read The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I like my understanding for what was possible in the world of real estate was open far before I got into the industry professionally. I was kind of reading and thinking about the investing space. And then we were doing small time investing while I was working in higher education for years. And then the door opened for us to move back to Ohio, be near our family, and make the change. So when I got licensed, it was not from a perspective of like, oh, I know that I just want to be the top sales agent that the world has ever known. It was more like, man, I think this industry is awesome. The opportunities to sell and to own and to build and to help others win and for there to be opportunity there. It was just an exciting new sandbox for me. So when our owner approached me, he was also the rainmaker of the team and also the owner of the market center. He said, hey, I'd love to have a conversation about a leadership opportunity. And for me, I'm like, hey, I'm brand new. Like, isn't this role for someone who's the seasoned veteran who's been crushing it for years? And he said, real estate, like, spoiler alert, you don't need to be a rocket scientist in order to be effective in real estate, but the people skills, the relationship building skills, the kind of the conflict resolution, the management side of things, like that stuff's a little bit harder to teach. And so he made a bet on me from a leader DNA standpoint that could learn the real estate industry. So here I am, closer to 6 years later, I still wear a realtor hat. I'm a team leader and still an investor. So I like to do a little bit of everything.
I love that. And it coincides. So perfect.
It
You
does.
find your passion across all the parts of our industry.
I
Awesome.
really do love it.
I have to know, for those that are listening who are getting into investing, what is your favorite book that you would suggest to those people?
Oh, golly. Under the gun. I mean, honestly, Millionaire Real Estate Investor really lays it out really helpfully. That was a big one for me for sure. Um, Wealth Can't Wait, written by a guy named David Osborne. He's actually a Keller Williams guy as well. It's less about real estate investing and more about like the the opportunity and the urgency to build wealth, not just for yourself, but for a bigger world. That one was challenging. Hold, it's part of the MREA series. Like I've read them all. I love this stuff, and everything you read, everything you listen to, the opportunity to pick up a thing or two is always there, no matter your experience level.
Yeah, I love that. Hold's one of my favorites too. It's definitely from an investor's practice. That's what I practice.
For sure, it's so practical, and they walk you through real numbers, and helps you kind of like think like an analyzer as opposed to just someone that wants to buy a property.
Yeah, less emotional, more numbers focused. I like it.
Yep.
Well, you've had a lot of success in both of your roles. And so currently you guys have, and you've been there for 3 months now,
Correct.
and you currently have 406 agents. In your previous market center, you were the team leader of 309. So for those rainmakers that are listening, I always say these are people that I think, as team leaders, sometimes you can get a rap that's like, oh, well, where have you been in the industry? How many houses have you sold? And I always say, well, I have 406 people on my team.
Yeah.
And when I was in the role, 800. And
Yeah.
so if you have done more business than that, I am all ears, right? And so as team leaders, sometimes we forget that we are the rainmaker of a large team as brokerage leaders. So you have overseen and led a lot of agents. Tell me one success that you've had in this role that has gotten you to where you are today.
Yeah. I think when you're leading a company, there's big metrics that you look at. And I think that the two things that I was consistently most proud of that we were able to hit consistently was the profitability piece. So we're always the top. Right now, we're number 2 at my newer market center and number 3 at my previous market center. So profitability matters. Like at the end of the day, that's what matters for businesses. And then net, like, hey, are we actually growing, or are we just like adding people and churning through them? And so to create an environment where people not only want to join, but they never want to leave, there's a lot of things to that. And I think there's a couple of things that boil down to it, because I would say I'm not remarkably good at many things. Number one is team. Having a team that has each other's backs, that can laugh together, cry together, be real with one another, but also get crap done. That is so important. And I think as leaders, it can be tempting to just focus on the next project or the next task and not slow down and say, hey, how do I build relationships? How can I like have some fun with my team? Because if you don't have fun with the people you're working with, it just becomes a job that you're looking to clock in and clock out of. And so creating an environment where there's joy and laughter is something that I like. That's just part of what I do. It's part of how God made me. That creates an environment where, hey, what about this? What about that? You got more people that are seeking to contribute and not just punch a clock. So I think that has helped foster like ownership of members of the team. Hey, how do we grow? How do we reduce expenses? You got more members of the team that are rowing in the same direction because they like each other and they care about one another. And that may seem like squishy and like, okay, kumbaya, but I think it matters so much in order to create those net and those profitability pieces. I think another thing that's really big in the Keller Williams world, I report to our owner, and I think in leadership relationships, it's easy to add a lot of pressure. Mm-hmm. Here's what we got to do. Here's what we got to hit. And I learned in grad school years ago that the ideal learning environment, if we're picturing, for those who are watching this, picturing a triangle, has a healthy blend of structure. Hey, here are the rules. Here's the framework that we're operating with. Here's the boundaries. Support. Hey, when you need help, I'm here for you. I'm just a phone call away. Like, how you doing? Like the relationship, soft place to land. And then challenge. Hey, what are we aiming for? What hill are we going to conquer? And I think many environments have a couple of those, but not all of those. Hey, high structure, high challenge. which can create a fearful environment if you don't have support around that. And so I think that's a long way of saying that I think our owner, his name's Jose Medina, really fostered that in my relationship with him. Like, hey, we're aiming for stuff. We're rowing in the same direction towards that. But like, I care about your family. I care about you winning, not just us hitting numbers and us hitting profit or whatever it is. And I think fostering that trust relationship in two key leaders trickles throughout a team environment. And that works for any business. That's not just real estate specific, but it works.
I love that. I think that is a gold mine for people who are listening. Anybody who leads people on this call, right, that are listening in right now have taken away the fact that that triangle for support, challenge, and structure
Yeah.
is life-changing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it can even, with my own team, I think about, okay, am I providing all three? I mean, it gets me thinking. Can you give an example for those maybe leaders who do have ownership that are listening? Like, how has Jose shown up for you that has made you feel that way?
Yeah, I think he is a very focused and very driven person who's not naturally going to hang around and just drink coffee and chat with folks. And so I know that. And so the moments where he's hyper intentional about relationship and asking a question, like I would say any of our one-on-ones, and we've done a bi-weekly one-on-one for the last for the last 5.5 years now. He's asking family first. Hey, how's Claire? How are the kids? How was that thing that we talked about last time? Which I know that that's not like his primary way of thinking about the world. And so it's like, oh, he's hyper intentional to show Mark, I care about you. And what do you need from me? I would say he models for you MREA nerds out there. Page 167 of the MREA has something called the consulting conversation. And it's like anyone who's looking to lead others, I think it's the simplest path to do so. It's a 4-question path. Number 1, what was the goal? Alexis, if I'm your leader and you're trying to, do well in my organization. Number 1, what was your goal? Okay, I was supposed to set X number of appointments. 2, how did you do? What was your outcome relative to that goal? Number 3, how do you feel about your result? And number 4, what else can I do to help you? And helping them to really own their goal and not for you to take it over. Because as leaders, we're fixers, we're doers. Oh, let me try, or let me show you, or I'll take it back over. Like almost every leader wrestles with control issues in some way, shape, or form, and I'm no exception to that. And I think Jose has really modeled that four-part question really, really simply and really consistently. I think one other thing that he's done, and I'll stop rambling, is he's made our relationship simple as it relates to how I win and what that means for me. Hey, here's what our benchmark is as far as gross and net for those that are looking to grow an organization. Here's what that means on a daily basis that I expect from you. And it's not unapproachable. Like when I started off as a team leader, it was 5 conversations a day. That was it. And I needed to text him at the end of the day. Hey, did I hit it? Who was it with? And we've gotten away from that particular practice. But it was, I think leaders, I heard a good quote a few years ago that inaction hides in complexity. Oh, there's a million different things to do. And when there's a million different things to do, it's easy to not do anything. But when you say like, this is how you win every day. And obviously there's lots more things to do. It kind of goes back to the 80-20 rule. I think he has led me simply in that. And that's made a world of difference.
And one thing that you actually said that I caught on indirectly was, we have been meeting biweekly for 5 years now. There's a lot of owners that will come up with reasons why they're too busy to pour into their leaders. And it's the first thing. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of leaders within our industry, if not thousands at this point. And the one thing I commonly see from higher level leadership and ownership is their leaders underneath them that are running their organizations. Those are the first rescheduled meetings that they take.
You're totally right. And I'm going to, as I think about this, I don't believe he's ever canceled on me.
Wow.
Which doesn't mean that he didn't email me on Monday saying, hey, we need to move some things around. Can we do
Sure.
on Thursday instead of Wednesday? Like we've
Race
had,
and replaced
yeah,
immediately.
correct.
Wow.
But I think in 5.5 years, I don't think we've ever just canceled a meeting. Certainly at his behest, it's possible that I did, but that when we talk about consistency trumps intensity, I think that's a great example of it.
I think so too. And reading between the lines, I found that to be one of the most powerful things that you just shared with your higher level leadership. And for those again that are running a team, whether on a brokerage level, rainmaker, real estate sales team level, or both that are listening to this that want to grow and again building a legacy through real estate, not just sales, but leading people. I think that's a huge takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely huge. I'd love to know. So you said the word consistency. What is one thing that you do consistently that has gotten you to where you are today? I'm sure people are thinking you've had a lot of success in this role with leading. Tell us what do you do consistently?
I think I forget the exact quote, but it's something like "Blessed is the man who never fails to get back on the horse again." And I think when you're in an industry like ours, you have months like this, and your emotions can go that way. And I think my ability to get back on the horse and say, my team needs a leader, and the people that aren't in a relationship with me might benefit from our relationship with me. And I'll be honest and say, like, that's taken different forms over time. Like, there was a time where, hey, I was calling co-brokes hard every day. There was a time that I was doing social media hard every day. There was a time I was kind of pushing events hard. Like, I would say I've had different seasons as far as what specific strategy I've hit hard. But I think the ability to get back on the horse and say, I need to bring positive energy into the rooms that I'm entering today. The people that I'm leading need someone who's smiling, who's curious about them, who's going to bring energy and bring momentum into their space. I would say that's something that I've done consistently. And then I think the getting back on the horse and like, hey, this is a contact sport. And so whether it's a text, whether it's a call, whether it's pushing towards an event, I can't hide behind a computer in order to grow our market center. Even though that's tempting and lots can be done from behind a computer.
Yeah, no, I love that. And yeah, that's all very, very good advice. And so consistently, obviously you are really taking best practice for you, right?
Yeah.
And implementing it and building relationships. And though it has taken different forms, you've continued to do that, get back on the horse, regardless of what external circumstances have been going on for you.
And I think one of my favorite things, I tell we need to take our own advice, right? And I regularly tell our agents, your clients don't need you to be that other agent that you admire, and you're allowed to admire that agent. Your clients need the best version of you. And you succeeding and winning in this role this year and 5 years from now and 10 years from now is because you have found the best version of you and leaned into that more. And I think one of my best versions of me, like my favorite places to be are one-on-one with an agent that's looking to be better tomorrow than they are today, or two, in a room, whether it's a small group gathering or a large class where I get to really kind of converse with the room, and I'm more of a dialogue sort of teacher than I am a monologue sort of teacher. But I think being able to interact with those and say, well, why'd you say that? What about that? And spending an hour with a top producer, and we know, like, there's lots of talented, hardworking people that are doing amazing things in this business who also the other half of their business is a total mess. And so I love sitting down with an agent who is doing a lot of things well and say, like, man, if you make that one tweak, you're probably going to see 10% more business this next year. It's not like you don't need to make a major move, but like if we do this with your database or this with social media. And so I think doing that consistently, that fills my tank and gives me energy to do the stuff that isn't as fun, like calling strangers. And so I think that's a bit of advice, is find the things that give you joy, that is a sweet spot for you, and do that to fuel you into the things that aren't as fun, which every job has some version of that.
100%. I always say, as long as you're enjoying at least 70 to 80% of what you do on a day-to-day basis, you're likely in the right role, right?
That's a good framework.
100%. And if it's higher, God bless you.
Yeah.
Right. And so we all have likely anywhere from 10 to 30% of things that we don't like on our
Yeah.
day to day, right? That, or maybe they just aren't our favorite things to do. And that is okay.
It's called
Right?
life.
It's called life. And,
Yeah.
and also as business coaches and consultants ourselves, we know that it's likely that the individual needs leverage. And then
Yeah.
we just create a 20 to 30% framework of what that individual can likely be. And it's usually an administrative assistant to
Yes.
some degree, at least as a starting point. So
Yep.
very
Yep.
good.
Yep.
If you were coaching an agent, I love that because this is your happy bucket. I'd love, for us to hear from you because you coach so many agents on a regular basis, especially those that you are attracting to your team. If you were coaching an agent and you asked them if time or money was of more value to them in 2026, and they said, "Oh, Mark, I have all the money in the world. I need time. I need time." Where would you take that consulting coaching conversation?
Yeah, so I don't want to do it in a vacuum or just say, hey, well, okay, well, here's some ways that you get back some more time. I'd say, talk with me about Monday of this week. All right, don't just tell me what was on your calendar. Tell me what you did. Let's pull up emails. Let's pull up texts. Like, what are we? There's the should and there's the did, and a lot of us live our lives in the anxiety that we're doing not enough of the should.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to dive in. How are you actually spending your time? And it is so easy. I tell folks this industry is such an easy place to be busy but not effective. And you find the amount of time they're spending on social media. Now, social media is an important place to be. The amount of time that they're spending just like, I don't know, out and about. The number of, don't put me on a soapbox here, the number of agents that actually work like a 40 or 50 hour a week, like with actual work and not just like, I don't know, floating around town. It's not that many. And those who do well. Because if you focus on who am I talking with today that I don't yet know, I'm trying to move you into that bucket out of the fluff bucket. 2, who do I know that I need to make sure that I'm staying in a relationship with? That's the nurture or the conversion bucket. And 3, what system do I need to have in place to ensure that the people that are not tight to me need to hear from me in some sort of consistent way through some sort of nurture plan, my mailers or my emails or smart plans or whatever that is. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But if you're not answering those 3 questions in your business, then everything else is wasted time. You can solve the transaction coordination stuff so easily. You can solve the social media marketing stuff so easily. But if you're not talking with new people, nurturing existing people, and figuring out a way to systematize folks that you don't yet know, that's what we need to move you into.
Yeah, that is a great, like you use the word framework, and that's just what comes to mind in this regard too. Those 3 facets of anybody's business is, are we living in them? Are we succeeding in them? Are we being intentional in them? Right? Yep. I think that's fantastic.
Another thing, just as I'm thinking about it, as far as how to help save them time, is you and I both know a lot of agents that are great agents that sell a lot of houses, but are they're more of a doormat than they are a bully as it relates to their time. And if someone needs something, they're gone. And so learning to not just help agents find more time, but to find strength and guidance and kind of boundaries around their time. That's big work, because a lot of us feel like we're letting someone down, or that we're failing them, or we're not serving them the amount that we should if we say, yes, how about we meet on Thursday instead of this second. And so learning to help set healthy boundaries goes a long way in helping people kind of maintain their sanity and get back the time that's so crucial for the growth of their business.
The courage to get back the time they already have is right there, right? Is because everybody always says, well, I don't understand how you do it, or they do it, or, so-and-so does it. And it's usually, if, you make the argument, our parents said it to us as kids, we all have the same amount of hours in a day, right? Well, then why are some so much more wildly successful than others? And I think there are different reasons, but without having to try to boil the ocean here, it's what you see across all of them, the really successful leaders of our industry and industries alike, is they are very, very intentional with the time that they have. And they take courage when they set the expectations with whomever and whatever client that they're working with to let them know when they work, when they'll get back to them, etc. Because I believe the greatest distance between two people is a lack of communication. And as long as a realtor tells a buyer or seller, hey, this is when I work, this is when I'll get back to you, this is when you can expect to hear from me, there is no reason when you fall within those boundaries, unless the house is on fire, I
Right.
always say,
Right.
that they are upset when you get back to them within those timeframes.
Totally. And especially, real estate is regional or local, but in the market that we're in right now, this isn't 2021 where like if you didn't see it by noon, you might be missing out on it. This is a more normal market that we're seeing in most pockets of our country, where it's coming back to some level of balance, where it means like, yeah, we need to serve our people at a high level, but you don't need to drop everything that you're doing right now. And for them to understand that expectation, I love what you said. It's like Elon Musk woke up today with the same amount of hours that you and I both did. And that's not a political statement or a Tesla or whatever, so much as to say it's the only amount of time that we all have the same of, and some of us somehow manage to get a lot more done with it. And I think that it's not just working harder. I think boundaries are a big part of that.
Huge. Absolutely huge. Speaking of boundaries, talk to me about some of the boundaries that you've had to maybe potentially set in this role. And, how have you kind of overcome some of those?
Being married with kids is a great thing for lots of reasons. My predecessor at my previous office was very much if there was a happy hour happening, she was there. If there was a board networking event, she was there. Like, she was very much get in the room where people were networking and mingling. I've done so little of that, and fortunately, having a leader like Jose who said, Mark, I don't care how you do it, I'm holding you accountable for the result. There's lots of different ways to get to the result, but for me, being married to a wife who says I want to see you, and with kids who need me as well, has given me the framework to say, my job is not to work to the bone, and I struggle. It's easy to find my identity in what I do and not in all of who I am. But to say, hey, my work needs to live between my work hours as much as possible, which doesn't mean that I'm not checking the phone, which doesn't mean that I'm not responding to something and taking a call here and there, but to say like, hey, when I come home, I'm doing my best to be home. And there are certainly exceptions to that. That's helped. I mean, I in a different lane, but this is kind of a lens in my life. I'm a skinny white dude, for those who can't tell. I like to run long distances because God gave me this body. And I trained for a full marathon a few years ago, but doing so with young kids is not easy. And so I said, basically, I want to do as well as I can with as little training as I can, which didn't mean I wung it. I basically put a plan in place that says, I'm never going to run more than 3 days a week, and I'm going to do it this way. And it was basically like, hey, my family matters a lot to me. And the things outside of work matter a lot to me. Like, money exists for the good that money can do. My work fuels everything else in my life, and actually aligning my behaviors with that is a different thing. And so I would say for those who don't have a bunch of young kids at home, like finding an accountability partner, finding a coach, finding someone who can say like, you say you value travel, but when was the last trip that you went on? Like, I think a lot of us have things that we say we value, but we don't align our daily activities with that value. And I think living life in light of the future, like, hey, on my deathbed, do I want to have grossed a few more agents, or do I want to have been present for the moments that matter most? And like, that's an obvious answer. And so how do I kick butt while at the same time living life in light of that kind of deathbed test is how I try to check things.
That's so powerful. And I'm sure those that are still with us have gotten a good kick in the head for some of us, right? And likely those that needed it, if you're feeling that way and you're listening, right? It's probably something that you needed to hear today, especially if it's making you a little uncomfortable. One of the other things that I coach to is, and you'll love this, you likely are able to turn off when you get home to the degree in which you want to, because you're not living in the anxiety of the shoulds.
Yeah.
So I should have actually followed my lead gen today. I should have actually met with 2 people. I should have actually done this. I should have actually followed my time blocking.
Yes.
I find that so many individuals, especially realtors, for whatever reason, in our industry, and I've worked in others and I've consulted in others, and there's something magnificently wonderful about our industry that people think they need to be on 24/7, and they're finding time, they're filling the time allotted with being busy, not productive, right?
Yeah.
And we just talked about that. And so when they do get home, they should have talked to 5 people that they didn't know today. They should have followed up with that one client, or they should have, but all the shoulds get in the way of being present.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, and then you find yourself at 9:30 watching Netflix with the ones that you love, sending outbound texts, and sometimes that needs to happen. But like, is that how you wanna live your life? I think that's a great question, and I'm still a work in progress on this, but I think you need to stress test it. And I think so many of us are so glued to our phones. This is from Jose. So just for those who don't know Jose, he owns 4 market centers. He runs a team that sells several hundred homes every year. Like, he's moving and shaking and doing all kinds of amazing things. And when he gets home, he leaves his phone in his car for 2 hours. Which like most agents who sell 4 homes a year will be like, I can't do that. And so he's like, no, Mark, you literally, this is what I did. This is what I do. And so I think having that accountability relationship, and he'll call me on it. Like, I'll reply to an email at 10 o'clock at night just because it's on my mind. He'll say, did you need to respond to that at 10 o'clock at night? Or did you need to send that email at 5:30 in the morning? Because in my mind, oh, this is a pocket of time. And he has helped rewire that unnecessary urgency. So you said earlier that, that gap of communication is so crucial. But when you set good expectations with your clients, like if an agent is listening to this who's busy and likes things done a certain way and saying like, oh, I can't, Mark and Alexis, it sounds good, but I can't do this. Stress test it, having set expectations on your next buyer consult, on your next listing appointment. Hey, here's what I do. Here's the value I provide. Here's the results that I've seen. Here's what people have said about me. Like, you're pulling out the stops to show that why you're the person for them to work with, and then say, oh, and I also, because I want to be the best dad possible, these hours I've carved out to protect my family. And if you want to see a home at this day, at this time, I've got a good friend that I can connect you with, or, you solve for it. But when you make yourself a real person and say, hey, I'm a real person who's trying to do my best in a variety areas of life, and this is what that means, you might lose 3% of clients. And I'm willing to bet that that's a 3% of clients that you're going to do just fine without, and might have been frustrating to work with in other ways as well. But most people that you want to do business with say, that makes sense. I want you to have dinner with your family, or I want you to be able to spend time with your spouse without, having to drop everything. So I think stress testing after having set expectations is how I would encourage you.
Yeah. And speaking of stress testing, leave your phone in your car for 20 minutes. Start there. Doing what you need to do to get to a point of where you want to be, right?
Yes.
Rome was not built in a day. They had to lay the first piece of foundation. And so wherever you are today, meet yourself where you are and lay that first piece of foundation and build upon it, right?
Yes. That's so crucial. I think all or nothing thinking gets the best of a lot of us. Oh, I need to lead generate 4 hours a day. And I look at them, I'm like, are you lead generating any minutes a day right now? Why don't we start with 30? Because I'm more interested in you developing the habit than I am in you conquering the next mountain. And you'll get there, but you're not going to, like, if you try 4 hours a day when you're doing 0, you're going to do it for a week and you're going to burn out, just like New Year's resolutions. So let's build habits. Talk to 3 people a day. Like, find a way to get the win. And so that's with boundaries. If you can't do 2 hours, do 20 minutes. Find ways to build habits that actually align with what you value. My word for the year as we go into 2026, I like to do this. It is alignment. I think it's easy to say, oh, this is important to me, but are my actions aligning with that? It's easy for me to say to my team, oh, I care about you and I want you to win, but is the way that I'm working with them and the structures that we have in place aligning to help them get there? And I think a lot of us live lives, and that we've talked about that anxiety or unrest. I think it comes from living out of alignment with saying you value this, but the day-to-day not really reflecting that. And I'm not an exception to that rule. I'm just a
I love that.
fellow journey.
So alignment was mine in 2024. My word
Oh.
of the year 2026 is acceptance.
Okay.
So for me, it's about allowing what is. Stop. I am too a bit of a recovering control freak. I always say in recovery,
Mm.
and in that practice, it's having faith that what is supposed to be, and accepting that that client is not ready to work with you, or that they are, that likely whoever you believe, God, the universe, your higher power, is setting you up for something bigger and better when you've worked so tirelessly all year for this thing and it doesn't come to fruition, or that relationship that failed and you thought it was the end all be all. In fact, you may have been engaged or whatever it is. Trusting and having acceptance into what is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's mine.
We can control what we can control, but there's a whole lot that we can't.
Whole lot. We make
Acceptance
plans
is
and
a
God.
powerful word.
We make plans. Yep, and God laughs is
Yeah.
one of my favorite sayings.
It's
Awesome.
I think there's
It's
a
a
lot of
good
truth
one.
to that.
Well, speaking of advice, Mark, I would love for you to leave our listeners with a piece of advice that you would give to other realtors, rainmakers of a teams, team leaders, owner partners, brokerage owners. What's a piece of advice that you'd love to leave our listeners with today?
I think I go back to, if you're not having fun, why do it? Which
Right.
doesn't mean that we don't have hard days, but finding a way to laugh every day, finding a way to connect every day, creates an environment that people want to be in, which likely is going to lead you towards more of the results you want, but it's also going to create something in you where you're excited to show up and do that work every day, even on days when it isn't as hard. So find a way to enjoy it. And the great career is more important than the great year. And so finding ways to build those habits, being slow and steady, I think that's what it's all about.
The great career is better than a great year. You are full of incredible quotes today.
I appreciate it.
Love it. It's one I'm writing down right after this, as I'm sure many of our listeners are as well. Well, Mark, thank you so much. There were so many incredible golden nuggets. I personally know I took a ton out of today's call. If those listening want to find more of you, where can they find you? Email, Instagram handle, whatever it might be.
Yeah, you can find me at mark.sandvig@kw.com. You can find me on Facebook under my first name. I'm bad. I'm not everywhere on social media, so Facebook's kind of the only place that I'm hanging out these days. Maybe one day this older millennial will step into other things, but today has not been that day.
Not that day, and it's okay, and we're not going to beat ourselves up on the shoulds, right?
That's right. You got it.
I love it. Mark, thank you so much for your time today. It was an absolute honor.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Alexis.
Thank you.